Welcome to Epida Studio. My name is Elizabeth. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Lemoyne Star quilt block. So this block, it was traditionally done with these parallelogram shapes. And that left tricky Y seams in here and in here. And it's a beautiful traditional block, but doing it this way with half square triangles and flying geese makes it a lot easier and faster to do. So this is the third block in our Twinkle Sampler quilt. So you can follow along below to get the pattern for the whole quilt, and you can join up for the quilt along, or you can just enjoy this block by itself. It finishes at 12 inches squares. This is 12.5 inches. So to do this block, you're going to need 4 3.5-inch squares of background fabric. I know background fabric traditionally is a lighter color, and you use darker focus fabrics, but in this case I'm using a darker fabric for the background. Then you're also going to need 4 flying geese units, and you can use these units using whatever construction method you want. But one thing to note is that this flying geese unit has 2 different colors of fabric. So if you're doing the Twinkle Sampler quilt, it has fabric 1 and fabric 2. And it doesn't matter which side they go on, but all 4 of your flying geese do have to be the same. So there is a really popular method for making 4 flying geese units at a time. You cannot use that method to do this. If you use that method, you will end up with 2 flying geese one way and 2 flying geese the other way. So if you want to make 2 blocks, you can use that method twice, and then you'll have 2 sets of blocks. That's fine. But if you're only making 1 block, you cannot use that method because it's not going to work out. So if you're only making 1 block, I would recommend using the obvious method for flying geese, where you cut the triangles and stitch them together. You can get tutorials for both of those methods below and decide for yourself which method you want to use to make your flying geese. But whichever method, these are going to be 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches. Then you're also going to need 4 half square triangles with your fabric 1 and 2, and these are 3.5 inches square. So again, you can use your favorite method for half square triangles. For this block, I would recommend using the most popular method, which makes 2 at a time. Just make sure that you trim them down to 3.5 inches square so that they can finish at 3 inches square. So now we have all our pieces. We're going to go take them and lay them out. So for laying out this block, you're probably going to want to lay out your flying geese first. So the flying geese go at north, south, east, and west. Usually I like to start blocks in the middle and build out as I'm laying them out, but in this case, the way the fabrics go in your flying geese is going to determine how the middle pinwheel is laid out. So in this case, we want to lay out the pinwheel so that there's matching fabrics. The matching fabrics are touching each other. Now there is a nice block, Sarah's Choice, where they have opposite fabrics, but that's not this one. So we want to make sure it's all the same. And then the background squares just go in the corners. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to join these 4 pieces together to make this nice little pinwheel block. So now that we know which orientation they have to go in, we can take that to the sewing machine and join these pieces together. So just like with any patchwork piecing, you're going to need an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance for this. So double check your 1/4 inch seam allowance before you start, and put a little tab or post-it note or tape or something to help to mark your spot, and that'll help make it easier. So to press these pieces, you're going to want to lay them with the darker fabric up. Set the iron on to set in the seam, and then open and press. So pressing the seams toward the darker piece means that this one is going this direction and this one is going this direction. That means when we turn them this way to sew them together, the seams will just butt up against each other nicely to line up, and that will make it easier to align this as we stitch it together. So once this seam is stitched, to press this, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to press this seam open. And pressing it open will help to alleviate a bit of the bulk that's at the center where all these different seams come together. So now we have the center pinwheel piece done. Now we can look and see, yep, it's still in the right orientation. And you can see that this is just like a 9-patch block now. There's 3 across and 3 down. And we're going to join them together, join the 3 into rows, and then join the rows together. So we'll start off by joining these into rows. So now we have our pieces joined into 3 rows. We're just going to join the rows together. So notice that on these seams, these are pressed in opposite directions. This one's going that direction, this one's going that direction. Again, that helps to line them up when we're going to join them together. So we're just going to join the top and the bottom into the middle piece and then give it a final press. So here we go. Just give it a final press. So there it is, the Lemoyne Star quilt block. And this will be great to be used by itself or as part of the Twinkle Sampler. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested in more tutorials, ideas, and inspiration, check out epidastudio.com.